Hi friends, I'm Olga Koelsch and welcome to my studio. Today we're gonna paint five different trees in different shapes, forms, and it will be, I hope, easy and fun and entertaining. And let's just start. I will start with birch tree, and birch tree has very nice oval shape. I paint just with the tip of the brush. I fill in this oval shape with tiny little strokes, and as we are in the middle already, in the middle of spring, now all the greenery is still fresh, and I take a green gold color, which you could make just with mixing of green and yellowish colors, and with this nice mixture I fill in this oval shape of our tiny beautiful birch. I just make tiny strokes around. I know that here I would like to see the trunk, so I just keep the space white, and later on you always could add some extra foliage if you find it necessary. And now I take sap green and I just fill in some gaps with sap green color to make the variety. And watercolor here is still wet, which allows me to add extra layer and create some volume around. I use a fine brush. It's number 4. It's fine, and it allows you to make these tiny little details around. I remember that the sun shines from here, which means our tree is lighter on the clusters which face to the sun and darker on the bottom of the clusters. And I want to make our birch a little bit wider. Sometimes I just distribute this color like this, very chaotic movements. Your brush should be dancing. If you feel too tense, take your brush on the tip, on the other tip of the brush, and it makes your movements more unpredictable, which might be scary, but also it's nice. Now I take Van Dyke brown for the trunk, and again with the tip of the brush. And of course we all know that birch has a white trunk, so my point here to paint only the dark parts of birch white trunk. And some branches. Oop, that was not good. No matter, you could just take a paper towel and everything is back on track. So, but it would be of course not a bad idea to wait a little bit until this layer with foliage will dry. But I will take that risk and make a tree. You could add some ground, just a bit. And once it's dry, I will add some details, I take a darker green and add some tiny small darker clusters in the round shape, and just dancing with the brush. And of course, if sun shines from this side and this part, the right part, is should be a bit more darker. So with dry clean brush, I distribute this darker green around. Again, add some variety everywhere. And I want to, our birch looks like a lace, so it's important to leave a lot of white spaces in the foliage. And as now it's dry, I could add some branches going through. So this is our birch. Oak tree has an oval shape which is placed more horizontally and has a bigger and thicker clusters of foliage. So I prepare the background again with a fine brush, but now mainly with the belly of the brush. I move my brush, making clusters or clouds. When I talk about trees, I prefer to say clouds. Sometimes trees really looks like a big fluffy clouds. And this part of the tree is under sunshine, so it would be more lighter and more loose. And I will make this part a bit more dark, and I take sub green, add some greenery accents. Now I use tip of the brush, and yes, I keep my brush on the tip of my brush and I just play around. It's difficult to control. Just together with you, I do not know what will happen next. I could just enjoy the process. Now it's time to make some accents. Dark green. I try to add darker color to the places where watercolor is still wet, so the paper is still wet, and it allows to make nice intersections and nice gradients, like for example here. And once I paint on the paper, which is dry already, it makes these crispy leaves, which is also very nice, and everything looks natural, just like this. I wash my brush, I dry it, and now I just, with a clean and dry brush, I distribute a little bit the darker accents. So now it's more like dry brush painting, very light, very transparent, very vivid. And now trunk. Yes, we love oak trees for it. Knotty, magical trunks, thick. And again, I sometimes add more water. Some part I leave dry to get more of a texture feeling. I want to set my tree on the ground. like this. And of course there are shades coming from the foliage, so this part should be more darker. And I will paint some thick branches, which I imagine goes like around here, maybe, and we could see branches from some gaps. I would like to check if it is, yes, it is still wet. But it's very tempting to proceed. So I very carefully, with the very tip of the brush, I want to make some very fine branches here. I do not like this cost. Again, I take paper towel, and everything is nice again, nice and clean. No need to be very precise. This is enough. I want to a little bit hide this moment, which was not extremely successful. So I will add some dark green colors around, just maybe also here. Done. Castanian tree. It is a tall, very tall tree with big cloudy clusters. And to make this filling, I prepare background, already creating some bubbles or clouds. What is your association with trees? I want to make Castanian tree very light, fresh. Maybe it's just right after blossoming. It would be actually, I think, a nice idea to paint a collection with blossoming trees, I think. What do you think? Just came up to my mind, and I think it would be lovely, because Castanians are beautiful when they're blossoming, and rhododendrons here, you know, they're stunning, and so many other trees. Also, you could add your favorite trees here. Trees to the list in the comments. I would really like to paint with you something what you find amazing, interesting. So that's the basement for Castanian, and again I'm adding sub green, and I try to add color to the places where it is still wet, and if it is dry already, it makes this crispy feeling, which is also very nice and very vivid. It's you probably noticed that painting trees, it's the same scheme mostly all the time. It's just important to follow the shape of the original tree, but basics are the same. Darker accents on the bottom of clusters. Sometimes I paint with belly of the brush, sometimes I use the tip of the brush. It makes things very different, and it adds variety. I clean my brush and dry it, and with dry brush I distribute everything which is a little bit wet yet, to make these messy trees, messy texture in the white spaces. Also, I like when the edges are not very precise, and they're a little bit fluffy, and to get that fluffiness we use our clean dry brush and we just drag out some color. And now trunk. I imagine that my castanian tree has this V style of trunk, and one part goes here and another goes here, and some branches we could see through the foliage, and just need to imagine that they at the end they'll end at the same trunk, at the same point. So each branch should have a logical connection with the trunk. Again, some ground for a tree. Now it grows. Now we see where it grows from. Okay, castanian is done. With elm, I will try something new. I will start with branches. Elm has a very cute Y shape. So I first paint the trunk and some main branches, the most thick branches. But again, I do not paint the whole line. I keep in mind that I would like to put some greenery on it, so it's more like a dotted line here. And now I'm back to my green gold color, and I dress my tree with leaves. I dress my tree with leaves, which means I think I even do not need to explain what I am doing. It's probably pretty clear from the video, I hope. Just let me know if you like when I explain each and every step, or it's pretty clear what you see on the pictures. So I made the basement, and now I want to take sub green. You could use your favorite set of green colors, of course, or just mix. I know that some artists they advise not to use ready-made green colors, or forcing you to mix colors. We all know that green is yellow plus blue. I really like to do different things. Now, clean the brush, dry the brush, and with the belly of the brush I distribute our colors around to make it nice, fluffy, and just a little bit of darker green would be nice at some points. So elm is ready. I will set it on the ground. And maybe add some contrasts. The last tree will be willow, which is quite different from the previous petals. I will start with the trunk. I want to make it really weird and interesting. And also it will help me to put all the greenery on it if I do it in advance. I will do like this, so the preparations are ready. This time I think I will skip sap green, or I will skip yellowish green. I will start with very diluted sap green, and this time I paint with long strokes from top to bottom with the tip of the brush to make these long willow clusters, willow leaves. It's more like you striking the paper. For the basement I use very diluted green. Also it's nice to add some water in some parts, a little bit, to again just for variety and for the volume. Important that you keep in mind the direction of your strikes or brush strokes, and also keep in mind the shape of the willow. I use lighter color on the top because of sunshine and darker color on the bottom. Now just with clean and wet brush I distribute color. Sometimes with the belly of the brush, because it allows to create nice texture. Now it's time to take the dark green color. It's actually the name of the color is just green. It's from Nevskaya Palitra. I do not find yet something similar in other palettes, so I just use, I could show you, it's the last drops of my favorite green color. And well, once it's finished I will keep looking for a substitution. But now with the tip of the brush I just proceed with making strokes to make some volume, and be careful not to overdo it. Clusters on the top are smaller, and on the bottom they are longer. Branches and greens are longer and darker. Okay. Now it's time to take to paint with dry brush, and I paint with dry brush with just very gentle touches, but it's not the tip of the brush, as you could see, it's belly of the brush, because I want to keep this direction of clusters and at the same time add this gentle texture of foliage. Close to it. Do not forget to dry your brush a bit before you go. You say it's a pretty fun process. Kid would love that. If you like to paint with kids, for example, I could bet that will be their best moment. But it's also for us, it's also very, very, very relaxing. This part, I see that it is still a bit too wet and has kind of a puddle. I remove it. It's no problem to correct it. Just go on the top. It's even better than before. I like it. And I think would be nice actually at the end add some touches of green gold. Again, same style. Belly of the brush, but we hold it vertically. This green gold adds some sunshine feeling. It's a fresh greenery feeling. It's nice to have some accents. Now, as a final touch, I want to make accents to the trunk. Oh, yeah. Oh. Okay. Just made this branch a bit thicker. With the trunk, you could be very creative. You could add some textures and strokes around. And I will add some green touch to the ground. Make it more watery. Maybe our willow stands in the park next to a lake. And it is done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the process. Please let me know in comments which trees you would like to paint next. Would you like to paint a set of blossoming trees, for example? Just send me some yes, of course, in the comments. Subscribe my channel, follow me on Instagram, olga.koelsch, and see you next time. Bye bye.